Hello and welcome to another season of Formula Forza Racing. This time it's a bit different. Formula 1 cars being tested for the first time, as well as a smaller driver roster and shorter race calendar. This time we're also filming you in front of a camera, so you can look at our ugly mugs the whole time.
Yeah.
We will have a full season race, season preview, I guess, and look ahead to this weekend's race at Circuit de Catalunya. So put on your helmets. Right, tighten up your belts. What is wrong with you, man? It's time for another season of the Formula Forza pre-race podcast by Jet Motorsport.
No, they're Formula 1 cars. No, they're not V8s. I was going to do a blow-off noise.
It's already a train wreck.
Yes, it is train wreck city, but we're just going to go with it. So, all right, so Derek is going to take it away here.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Formula Forza Pre-Race Podcast. I'm your host, Derek James, gamertag that Derek James. I'm joined as always by my cohorts, Ryan McDowell, gamertag Siphon68, and
hello.
This guy, Brad James, gamertag Das Baggies. We got a good show for you guys today. As Ryan said, we're actually going to go over the schedule and some of the rule changes, as well as the new vehicles for this season. We also got some of the discussions about the upcoming race at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, as well as just some general discussions about the league and the drivers and stuff like that. But starting it off, Ryan, Formula Forza stands for professionalism.
It does.
Do you see what we're wearing?
This is not...
And you're the only one with facial hair.
This isn't in the script.
I thought we had established that we were going to dress nicely for this.
I was going to wear a suit, a whole suit.
It's a Puma shirt.
What are you can't see that it says Puma?
You're also wearing jeans.
So are you.
They're dressy jeans.
My apologies. I will up the game.
Ooh, challenge accepted.
For the next one.
Challenge accepted.
I'm going to wear nothing.
I will win.
If Scott was here, he would have at least put pants on.
That is at least a 50-50 chance.
Well, we're in a public place. He has to, right?
No, he doesn't.
No, not always. All right, so anyway, into the podcast,
Yeah.
yes.
Ryan, we're actually going to have a discussion here about the Formula 1 cars. Why did you actually have Formula Forza switch to Formula 1 as opposed to sticking with our tried and true formula with Le Mans prototype cars? Because, I mean, there were plenty of Le Mans prototype cars in the game. I mean, there weren't that many at the start, but there was only one F1 car, and there were probably 3 or 4 R1 cars. We could have based the season off of that.
And then 2 DLCs.
Yeah, but there was still, the base was there to have a decent R1 championship. What caused the switch to Formula 1?
Well, okay, so when the whole thing started, we based it off of Formula 1. Like, we were using R1 cars and trying to do everything we could to get it as close to F1 as possible. So we used, it wasn't like 24-hour races or anything like that. We tried to make it, equivalent length, a little bit shorter than F1, yeah. But, the whole purpose was as soon as we got open wheel, I knew that's where we were going to go, because that's where we had always envisioned it going. So, in short, as soon as we got even one F1 car, I knew that was it. That's where we were going. Right. Only need one.
I think we should have just thrown in the new Maserati in there just for fun.
Oh, yeah?
Have the
Double
E21.
class?
Yeah, E21. No, just same class.
Double class. No, and then
I think multi-class with, the old Maserati cigar boat, on track at the same time as the Lotus.
That would be a death match.
Maybe. Like Death Race 2014, something like that.
I mean, we did that in a couple of live stream sessions for Formula Forza.
Unofficial people driving rabbits and stuff like that versus LMP1.
But I mean,
versus LMP1.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense to switch to Formula 1 because that was what, like you said, what you had based the rule book and stuff off of. So I mean, you said it was as soon as we got one, it was like, well, I guess we're doing that now.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Now, one thing we had thought about doing but didn't end up doing for the 2014 season was a feeder series to what we ended up dubbing this as FF1, as in Formula Forza 1 Championship. Yeah. And we had thought about doing like an FF2 in maybe Indy Lights or maybe the Formula 4 or maybe IndyCar. IndyCar might still be a little bit too powerful, but IndyCar would have been an interesting, maybe detuned IndyCar.
Yeah, my problem with the IndyCar is that it kind of is, it sucks to drive.
It kind of does.
It's a bit awful.
The Indy Light is nice and the Formula Ford is pretty good.
I haven't driven either of them yet. I haven't driven.
Right, you've barely been on Forza.
I have the season pass. I have them.
Doesn't matter. You gotta actually drive them.
Hey, it's because I'm get money to buy a car here, dude.
A lot of big rule changes this upcoming season. What you wanna?
Yeah.
Give us
Okay.
a brief synopsis?
So this transitioned us. This is the first season for Forza 5. So there were a lot of feature changes, I'll call them, going from Forza Motorsport 4 to Forza Motorsport 5. For example, there's no spectate mode. So that means that
you have to drive now.
I come
unfortunately
back into the driver's seat, right?
You were like, yes.
I was a little bit excited for it, but on the other side, I think it was. On the other side, I think it was better for the sport for me to be spectating and commentating.
Running it from outside.
Exactly. I think that helps it grow, and I think we see that now. It is way smaller. We limited it to 8 teams, so 16 drivers. It's no longer a 15 driver lobby, 16 drivers, and we are not running a second lobby. So if we get people that drop out, we'll probably accept another team. So I don't foresee that happening because pretty much every team that's in there is fairly
Pass committed to. Right?
Yeah, they're fairly committed to it. So I think we're going to be fine on that front. But yeah, some of the other rule changes, like especially our qualifying, because you can't gift anymore.
in my opinion, that was the biggest change. Other than swapping to an F1 card. I mean, we're not doing separate qualifying anymore.
Right. It used to be that we had a 3 or 4 day window for everybody to qualify on their own time. And theoretically, you could have had somebody with just a ton of time on their hands to spend, 1,000 laps if they really wanted to, honing a lap that there's no way they're going to run that in the race. You know what I mean? Waiting for that miracle lap to happen. Now what we've done is we've switched to live qualifying, which asks a little bit more, but we only have to ask that from 16 drivers. You know what I mean? So I think it's a little bit more reasonable that we do that. So it's a 2-part knockout qualifying. Qualifying 1, 15 minutes, all drivers in there. The top 10 drivers from that move on to Q2, and that's a 10-minute session. And the idea is that collisions are off, so drafting doesn't, there's no effect there. You ghost through each other, so you don't have to worry about somebody messing up your line or, running into you or something like that. Damage is on though, so if you're really pushing hard and you make a big mistake, let's say Nürburgring GP, I expect this to happen. Somebody's going to hit that wall at the revised chicane.
You mean like I did?
Like perhaps certain somebody did during our practice there.
And I managed to take out my teammate. It worked well.
Right.
In jet fashion.
It's a good insight
at least
into what
you
Jet
won't be able to take out your teammate, but
I'll try.
And it won't ruin you. One of the things we picked up in Forza 5 is the ability to repair aero damage. Before we had retiring rules. If you got more than 90% damage, you had to retire. So now you can repair aero. I think you're gonna for the distances we're racing, I think almost every race you're going to want to pit once just for tires, like out of necessity. I don't know that making it mandatory. I mean, they are still mandatory. You have to do one, so even if you could stretch it, you still got to fit one in somewhere. But I think in most cases, people are going to want tires. Exactly. So we'll see how that goes. I think the live qualifying is going to make it exciting. It is 1 hour before the races now. They will all be streamed from my perspective.
I believe as a result, though, what you had seen with the live qualifying being implemented, a lot of these guys are going really hard in their practice. I mean, you've got guys putting in tons and tons of hours just to have an average time that might get them higher up into the qualifying session. Because I mean, you're not going to be able to set that miracle lap and then 10 seconds before qualifying closes, like, I'm going to turn that in now. No, you gotta step it up and do it right then and there.
There is no more qualifying sniping that used to happen. You'd wait till the last 10 minutes, in some instances 1 minute before they would put in their time on the website. Now that doesn't happen. Now it's all going to be live, so you've only got those 15 minutes or 10 minutes to put that time in. So pole position will be secured right during that time. So should be exciting, honestly. More exciting than it was.
See.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I believe some of the drivers are going to have some of their live streams up, right? You might be able to watch from more than just yours.
We should be able to do that. what I would caution the drivers on is if you've already got sort of a dodgy connection, maybe you don't want to try that because
connection down too.
well, and some people are getting dropped from races when they live stream. So if you can live stream and race, I would encourage you to do that. Yep, and we'll share whoever's live stream is out there. Like me, I don't live stream through the Xbox for fear that it will drop me. I use a capture device and then I stream from that. So, I mean, my house bandwidth is taking the hit, but I don't think it's getting anywhere near what the Xbox can handle. So,
do you have any other big rule changes that we need to discuss? I mean, there's no buy-ins this time, so basically
No
what happened
buy-ins.
was first come, first serve for team and driver signups.
yep, exactly. So our teams are set right now. I think we have a good group of guys. We've got a team of totally new people. That's Bryce MW and Laker Hader. But you know, I think it's going to be exciting to see it. There's a lot of familiar faces in there. TLR is in there. Jet's got 2 teams in there.
Like always.
Right, like always. And you know, you see even
Bosch Tech's in there.
Bosch Tech Racing, yeah, VTR's in there. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting. PLM even was in the Super GT.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, you
a lot
also
of
got to
returning
mention that
faces.
AVR is trying to form a team just in the anticipation that somebody might actually drop out. We could, in fact, see AVR back for
Yeah.
FF1.
Which is interesting because they've been in pretty much every championship.
Yeah.
This will be the first one. And, you know, I can't fault them too much. This is more of a summer series than a primetime series. So,
I'd say it's pretty prime time. I mean, we're doing a video podcast right now, right?
right.
I think what Ryan's trying to say is before was always like
started in
January
And
we
ended
anticipate
late
starting.
June.
And also, I think another reason why AVR maybe didn't get in there so early is because it's a new console. You don't just
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
get a new game; you have to get a whole new console and a game.
Exactly. So Lewis,
there's a lot more actual
Commitment
real money
into it.
involved.
yeah, the owner of AVR, Lewis Steele, doesn't have an Xbox One yet. He's hopeful that he can get one this summer, but that's going to be a little bit too late for this. But he may pick up on the next championship we run. I think now that we've worked out how to do this in Forza 5, I think it's going to be okay.
I think what we could do, though, is, I mean, we could possibly open up a 32 driver championship or more again and just do, we have 2 lobbies open. You can show up into one of the other 2 lobbies. We're going to do the live qualifying, Q1, Q2, and whoever, or just do one qualifying session, just whoever can set the fastest lap, and we'll combine the 2 lobbies, and whoever made it into the top 16 made lobby A.
We can figure that out for how to do that. I think the first thing we would do is probably do a feeder series before we open up a second lobby, because with live qualifying, that does make it a little difficult. You'd have to do multiple Q1s, you know, to get yourself, or maybe a Q1, Q2, and it sort of pairs it down into maybe a Q3 session, which just eats up more time. But I think we can figure it out how to do it. But I am really excited for this season.
I guess it kind of worked out that there's no saving replay. I mean, it worked out for the better. I mean, we're doing live qualifying now. It takes out the aspect of, well, this guy's super fast, so he's just going to set an amazing lap time and turn it in and just be pole. There's that little bit of pressure on there to set that amazing time.
It also gets rid of the validating times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which saves us time.
It does.
Because then we don't
You
have to
never
do it.
validated times.
We would, some days,
Once.
some races we would be doing it all the way up until the race was starting, like 2 hours beforehand. Whereas now it's like, boom, ready to go, let's go. Because if you got a clean lap,
I also think that it will help us start on time, because the qualifying starts an hour before. So I think those 2 sessions combined, I think we'll get done with about 20 minutes to go to the race. A little bit of a break. Everybody can go get a drink, take a pee, whatever they need to do, and come back and be ready for the race. You know, already in the lobby, as opposed to before. Sometimes we weren't even getting everybody until 10 or 15 minutes after. And as an administrator, I want to see people race. So you see this even with our testing. Like, I want to try and hold on for you know, everybody, because once you get in there, you can't join. There is no spectate, so you're locked out. You got to wait for us to finish the race.
and
Well, you have the live stream.
You do have the live stream.
and with the qualifying beforehand, it actually almost fixes the having problems connecting to the lobby issue.
We hope.
Because hopefully they'll be in there for the qualifying, and then all they have to do is just stay in the lobby for the race.
Right.
And then we don't have to worry about connecting to the race.
Right.
So that's
Now, staying with you, Brad, do you want to go over our schedule for the year?
I would love to. this series, we have an 8-race schedule, like we specified earlier, I think. I don't know if we said actually 8, but it's shortened than usual. Well, we had like 16 races before, almost.
No, we had
like
12 and then 13.
12 and 13.
Yeah.
So this is typical for a summer series.
Yeah, it's nice and small, you know. Not as much commitment, but still a pretty decent amount of commitment. Starting off, we got Spanish GP. That's this weekend. On the 29th, we have the SoCal GP. That is at Long Beach, new track for Forza 5 and for us, so that'll be pretty interesting. After that, we have the British GP at Silverstone, correct? That is July 13th.
New layout.
New layout, too, so that's the current Formula 1 layout that they have now. That's what we're using. After that, we have the American GP at Road America.
Road America.
Correct. That'll be July 20th. After that, we have the Abu Dhabi GP, also at a brand new track for us. That would be Yas Marina. That'd be the full circuit that they use in Formula 1. That's on August 3rd. After that, we have a classic race, the Mazda GP at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. We all love that race. Right.
And Boros especially does.
Yeah.
That's his favorite
That's
race.
his favorite track, so that'll be a good race. It always is. After that, we have the German GP.
That was actually
an old favorite for me.
To cut you off real quick, that was actually swapped into the schedule here this week, or last week, with the addition of the Nürburgring whole circuit on the game. Before that, where were we going to be at before that?
We were going to be at the Bugatti circuit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We were gonna,
I was looking forward to that.
You were?
I was. I love that track. It's a good circuit.
It's a little bit choppy. It's a little bit stop and go for Formula 1 cars. I think it works well for sports cars.
Yeah.
For
maybe for the feeder series, that'd be a good track.
Maybe
possibly.
Maybe it would. Yeah.
Moving on. Like we just specified, on the 31st would be at the Nürburgring GP circuit again, old favorite for me. And then after that, the finale is at Spa-Francorchamps and a brand new track for us. That'd be on September 7th.
basically half our schedule is completely brand new to the league.
So,
or severely reworked.
Adding it up, we got 4 new tracks out of 8, so that's half. Or I'm counting Silverstone as a new track.
It is completely clean slates for all us drivers. I mean, none of us. I mean, some of the guys might have done it with like Tora and maybe other series. May have done some slightly competitive racing on these new tracks, but this is going to be the first like full-on balls to the wall competitive racing that we've done on these tracks.
There is a Formula 1 actual game, so then people might have raced it Spa on that. Or
the physics engine's also slightly different for that.
You'll have a little bit more experience to know how to drive the track.
I think it'd be really interesting because Forza does have sort of its own unique characteristic physics, like the handling feels weird. Formula 1 has, or I guess the handling feels right to me. Formula 1 has a little bit of too much body lean.
Yeah, it's loose.
And I think it'll be interesting seeing how people cope with the new schedule. A lot of new tracks that we haven't done before, so I think it's exciting from several different fronts there.
I think another thing that I did notice on the small amount of practicing that I have done is that they did change the physics on putting a tire onto the grass or hitting a rumble strip weird.
It can spin you around.
It spins you around, and that's way different than what it was, which is really nice.
Yeah, right.
It's nice as a game aspect, makes it more realistic, but as a driver aspect, it kind of sucks. Because as me, I like to cut the rumble strips, put a wheel over.
Lord knows that you do.
Doesn't go too well. So
usually it ends with you running into the back of Ryan's car.
No, that's only that's only Indy though on the last lap.
And then there's lots of crying. Okay, but yeah, I totally agree with that because I've been doing some practice on Catalunya and like that final 15-16 chicane.
Or the second corner for me, or the first corner that right and then the left. That happens to me there all of the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's the final chicane at Catalunya that if I'm not careful, I can put a wheel off there. And I guess it's 14-15, isn't it? If you put your left side wheel off and you're on the throttle too quickly, it'll spin you right around and you'll be really lucky not to collect some damage there.
See, my issue is at 15 is that I get stupid understeer right there. Where I'm trying to be too careful and then I'm not going fast enough. It's not going to grip for me to turn. That's my issue.
Yeah, and you got to be careful tuning in too much toe in to try and make it rotate because you'll just make that even worse.
Especially with this car, and even with traction control, and I've noticed it. If you're about to exit the corner and you're full on throttle, the back end starts to step out. So you got this. It's a lot harder than it was in 01 if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's also much harder to race in traffic than it was with the R1 cars. With
With
the R1 cars, you could kind of bump in a little bit, and it wouldn't knock the cars that far offline. You could have a get together a little bit with somebody, and it wouldn't affect them that much. In this, you clip somebody's rear wing, and all of a sudden they're going around and they're right in front of you.
And if they hit anything, they're almost guaranteed to get 100% damage on pretty much anything that makes contact. It's like an R1, you could get hit and say, oh man, we got 20% damage on my brake. That's not happening anymore. If you get damage, you're very likely to get 100% damage if you're going to get damage. Right. So
I think you and I kind of proved, though, at the Nürburgring test last weekend that you could kind of tap it a little bit.
Just a little bit.
You could.
But so that's something that's not going to happen in the race. There's going to be no tiny contact, if you ask me. It's going to be more.
It happens quite a lot more than you think.
It's
There's such
like you're either
long
getting
vehicles.
damage or you're not.
Yes, but it also seems like people are having trouble when you're going into, like, say, a corner and you're in a group of 3 or 4 cars. It's hard to judge how long the car exactly is. You go in and you're like, all right, I have this much room, and I could stop the car right here and not have to worry about it. But
especially the rear end. The rear end of the car. I mean, if
Very
you're
sensitive.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, it's definitely going to be dynamic. With totally different from what we've driven before. I think one thing that also ups the ante is that every single guy that's in this is a top 200 driver. Every single one. So
Been doing it. I'm a top 10.
he will be.
So yeah.
you
I
Brad?
wasn't Forza 5. I wasn't Forza 4. So
Yeah. But I mean, okay. Other than Brad, since he hasn't been practicing enough, he will be
I
there.
just got the car like 3 days ago. So
I think
He's fully
he'll be
prepared for
fine.
this.
I mean,
No, he's not.
Come on. Learning from the race and me not practicing, I pick up on it quickly. So
Yeah, I think you'll be all right.
There's usually a lot of cursing, though.
so.
Right.
I think we should move on to the next topic. That would be the teams. I'm going to be leading the way here. So, in this, right now we have 8 teams, 7 of which are accepted in the league right now. One of which is probably getting added tonight or tomorrow. Hopefully tonight. I haven't.
Looks like it's gonna be
refreshed
tonight.
unless
Looks like it's gonna be
changed
tonight.
But we have Bosch.
If you're watching this now, we're coming from you from Thursday before the race.
It's Thursday at like 7:40, so PM.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's beside the point. We got Bosch Tech Racing, British German Racing, a new team, right? That's the new team. We also have the Jet Motorsport, me and Derek. We also have McLaren Mercedes, which
Totally
is
new team.
Totally new team too. But are the drivers new in that too? Or?
Yep.
Yeah.
That is Laker Hader and Bryce MW.
Okay. And then we also have Penton and Lamont. They were in Super GT with us.
Under a
we have-
different name, though.
Was it?
Yes.
Yes, but
It's just
the drivers.
Same
were there.
drivers,
Yeah.
different name.
Then we have Scuderia Ferrari. That's your team, Ryan. That's you in Flames.
Yep. Me and Kenny Gorham.
Basically, Kenny and Ryan's just there to make sure he doesn't lose that many points.
Right.
And then we have the, I guess Jets rivals now is TLR. We used to be up against Pacific Racing, but now I guess it's TLR.
Serba did back out of it. They were initially.
Yeah.
The Serba Racing was initially going to be in the series with us. For some unknown reason, they just couldn't make the scheduling or whatnot. They decided
I mean, it's
to
a
back
summer
out.
series, so it is a little bit more difficult to make that, I think, than a winter series
People
would be.
play more trips and stuff.
And I want to be sure that the people we do accept are going to be those that are really committed to the season.
Yeah, it would
So
definitely be nice to have a 16 driver race every race.
Yeah, that would be. I don't think it's going to happen every race, but I think we can get
At
pretty
least one.
close.
At least one.
Yeah.
I feel like. I feel like that'd be the finale, most likely.
Maybe even towards the beginning we might see one. I mean, Long Beach is going to be going to be
Chaos.
tight. So I wonder how many people will just be like, I can't make the race. I don't know. We'll
I
see.
don't know. I can't take the loss of points, so
We're always in to win it, so
Right.
if you're gonna be there, you better show up,
So-
even if it's Long Beach.
let's dive deeper into this topic of the teams. What do you guys think are the powerhouses per se, or the people that are
Right off the bat, I mean, Ryan, as bad of a driver as you are, I have to give In Flames the tip of the hat. I mean, he's like seconds faster than everybody else right now.
He
It's
really
insane.
is. It is kind of insane. Like, you look at every single track we're going to, number one time. in X class, and number 1 time by a margin. So the guy is really fast. But part of that, and not to put him down at all. I mean, the guy is really fast. But this is also first game for this console. So I think as Forza 5 gets more adopted and you know we
People adapt to it.
Exactly. I think we'll see people get closer and closer to him. Not for this season though. I think it's going to be difficult. Which brings up one of the other points of the rules that changed is our power restrictions. It's 5% for everybody that's on the podium. You don't lose your power restriction until you fall to 7th or lower. So if you go,
It keeps adding up.
right, it just keeps adding up. So if you go 1st to 4th, you're not losing.
Logically, at some point, you're going to have enough power restriction to where you finish below 7th.
Right. So
unless
that's why
you're in flames.
That's why I'm not too worried about in flames. It's going to catch up to him.
At the 8th race.
Jeez, that would be a lot of power lost.
There's no way at a course like Road America. There's no way you're going to finish it.
It's too many power circuits, I think. But we'll see what happens.
We'll just make predictions.
And I dropped my phone. All right.
I think
Is it broken? No.
dark horses. I mean, you can't count BTR out ever, or TLR for that matter.
Call them a dark horse.
I wouldn't say they're dark horse, but they're definitely
I would say
there.
they fall more into the powerhouse than a dark horse. I think the dark horse might be McLaren Mercedes.
Could you count TLR in that
Remember
aspect
first year
too?
we had,
I think so.
I mean,
They're
we know that
fast.
we know that TLR Eclipse and TLR Law, which is for you people that have been with Formula Forza for a while, is the one named Jack. I mean, you definitely know that they have the talent, but it seems like through testing, they're not necessarily putting it together well. I mean, they're finishing well in testing, but it seems like during qualifying, they're kind of lower down the
We'll have to see.
grid.
Those guys are very consistent in races, especially Hunter. If he can stay connected, I think Hunter is going to be a big threat.
He hasn't had a problem yet, though, has he?
He hasn't. He hasn't been dropped.
I hope we don't jinx him.
He's had
I hope we
issues
didn't just jinx
connecting.
him.
He's had issues connecting, but I don't think he's been dropped from anything yet.
So I think, not to toot our own horn here, but I think a real dark horse would be not my jet team, but the other jet team.
I think that is a really good point.
I know Mitchell's fast. What's his gamer tag?
Edited Biscuit, the best gamer tag.
We know he's fast, and from seeing in testing, it looks like Adam Boros, that'd be Ferrari Fanatic 9. He's also fast.
He is ridiculously fast.
That's also because he's put in like 97 million hours of practice. Like we said earlier, these dudes that are fast right now have put in hundreds and hundreds of hours and laps of practice.
It seemed like as soon as the preseason evaluations started coming out, those times just dropped. I remember thinking that a 123 was pretty decent on Catalunya, and now that's a little bit of a laughable. Nobody is that slow. 123.
123.
You'll be there though.
He doesn't have a proper setup yet.
I've only done maybe 40 minutes on the track though.
It's still a laughable.
That's a
time.
lot for you.
40 minutes on the track with 40 minutes on the track without a competitive setup at 23 dead.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
When Ryan thought that was going to be a competitive time at the beginning of the season.
I thought so.
But we always prove the expected times wrong. We always blow it away. Our one last year was a definite example of that. I mean, every race there was like 4 or 5 people beating the pole time from the race the year previous. I mean,
right.
There's growth in the series.
Yeah, right.
Somehow we get faster.
Right.
I think, but the way we're talking about this now seems like we're more talking about qualifying, because then there's other people like myself and who else is like you. You're good in qualifying, but I think you're even better in the race. Same for me. I'm all right at qualifying, but I'm really good at the race.
Generally, at least when I was in the races, I would qualify okay. I think I only got 3 poles to my name during
Which is still more than I have.
22 races. Well, it was also during part of the
dark era.
Not as competitive. 2013 really stepped up the bar for how competitive Formula Forza got. And now we're in 2014 and we're talking everybody's a top 200 driver. So I think you're right. I think I'm going to qualify mid-pack, maybe even some races sort of bottom mid-pack, like 9th, 8th,
I don't
something
expect
like that.
to be too high because I'm not good at qualifying at all.
But if you look at the race, though,
but if the race aren't fantastic.
You guys are talking about the dark horses. If you look at the most updated of the preseason lap time board, which is from like June 11th or 12th or something like that, the McLaren guys are definitely going to be the ones you're going to want to watch out for out there. I mean, Bryce is doing, well, at the time he was doing a 1:19.6 was his fastest time. Yeah, I believe it's safe to assume with the progression that everything's been doing that he's probably faster than that. And I'm sure that Laker Hater, who was at a 1:21 dead, is into the 20s, maybe even the low 20s, maybe even in the 19s for all we know. We haven't seen an updated timesheet in a while. So, right. I mean, they're definitely by far the ones to look out for. I'm sure they're going to be giving Flames a run for his money in a few races once the power restriction starts to kick in.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Jack will be another one. TLR Law, I think, with him, I know we already touched on him a little bit, but I think he is really fast. And Mitch, just to further your point, Mitch, when he puts the time in, just gets dedicated and sort of locks in on I want this time, and he ends up getting it. I mean, I know he, in our chat, whatnot, he sort of says, "Oh, I can't do it," and then like the next day he's like, "Oh, guess what, guys? I went 3 seconds faster." We're like, "What the hell?"
What, Jimmy?
Right.
You're doing like a month.
Not quite 3 seconds, but I mean, he just chops the time out, and all of a sudden he's second now on Catalunya.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the race season.
I mean, I don't think we can really touch on the unknowns here, but I think it seems like with a lot of these teams is that everybody's so close right now that everybody has a chance to do really well. Even the guys that are like, I mean, Catalunya, I guess it's safe to say that we're going to touch on the speed of the race for a little bit right here. You're going to want to be in the low 20s to the 19s. Definitely. If you're going to want to stay competitive and finish well, you're going to need to be in the low 20s to the 19s.
You mean towards, like, chance of podium?
Yes, chance of podium. We're going to want to be in the 19s to the low 20s.
Because
during the race,
consistently.
If you can consistently get your time down, if you can consistently get your time down in the 20s, you're going to be gaining ground on guys that are up front. Because I mean, it's safe to assume that these dudes that qualify up front are going to run a long stint at the beginning of the race.
Yeah.
So you can pit early if you know you can run those times, and you'll have better tires than those guys. You'll slowly start chopping bits of time off as they start losing grip.
Yeah, it's those guys that qualify in like those last 5 positions, or like the guys that get knocked out in Q1, that they'll probably want to do a early to middle of the race pit strategy to try and make sure that they're staying out of traffic as much as possible.
Because then you can run your fastest time.
Well, exactly. And the guys that are at the sharp end, they're going to want to pit very late. Middle to late, depending on how much buffer they've built up. But we'll see. I mean, we predicted amazing things for Flames when he came in last year, and his first race was Sebring, and I think he made 3 major errors in that race.
Now, one of them cost him.
It is easy to make errors in this car, though.
It definitely is.
It's very easy to make an error in this car.
It is easy. So I think when we get to the race, it's going to be fun for everybody. It's going to be really exciting to watch, I think. And I really wish that we had spectate mode, but we're going to make the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
We can try, I think, with spectate mode. Is if people broadcast, we can see if we can put it together or something like that.
Yeah, something
but
like that.
That's not a definite thing.
Probably not for 2014, not for FF1 2014. We can take a look at how that evolves. I mean, to be honest, Turn 10 has been adding to this game a lot more than people expected, and perhaps right around the corner is going to be a spectate mode. I don't know. And if it does come back, I think we're going to see our race broadcasts just as popular as they ever were.
Now, changing gears here, we're going to move into our preview for Catalunya. Basically, this race, we're going to be doing 50 laps here at Catalunya, which is the max that the game allows here. Where it's going to be about a 4.6 mile course or kilometer course, about 2.9 miles. Our average lap time on the website is a 20.9. I'd say that's safe to assume what it's going to be for qualifying, because you're going to have these guys that get a little bit nervous during qualifying and maybe underperform what they could do, and then step it up during the race. So you're going to see the average time of qualifying kind of stay around there. I mean, that's a very accurate time. Our race duration is going to be about 1 hour and 7 minutes. I mean, maybe a little longer if guys take a bit longer to finish. So the leader should finish in about just over an hour.
I think so.
Qualifying is going to start on June 22nd, this Sunday, at 2:00 p.m. So basically, if you're going to be racing and not watching through Ryan's View or one of the other driver stuff, we're going to want you at least on and trying to attempt to get into the lobby at about 1:30.
1:30, yep. That's
But
what I think.
we expect both sessions of qualifying to be over at about 2:40.
Yeah,
Give
that's
us
what I
about a 20-minute buffer barrier. Get everybody a quick break. Make sure everybody cools down a little bit, and then 3 o'clock we'll drop the green flag and we'll be racing.
Yep, split the stream a little bit. We'll stop it at the end of qualifying, start it back up for the race, and we should be good to go at 3 o'clock. There is a note here. If somebody misses qualifying, so if you miss the start for Q1, that's okay. You can still race, but you can't move on to Q2 clearly. And when you start the race, you're going to have to start pointed into pit lane. So this means you'll be right at the back, pointed into pit lane, and when the go time happens, you actually accelerate hard right into the pit lane, and then you immediately slow down and go through pit lane. It's a huge
Now that doesn't count as your mandatory pit.
pit.
Speaking of pit stops, what is the pit delta here? What do we expect the gap that you want to maintain between the people in front of you and behind you?
Think about that.
It's definitely one of the faster pits on the schedule from what I've experienced. The Nürburgring takes absolutely like 2 hours to get through the pit.
And you don't even go 30 miles an hour.
Yeah. But here it's relatively fast. I'd say probably 30, 35 seconds.
That's what I was going to say, about 30, 35 seconds to get a delta. We may even know that before the race starts, but I think that's a pretty safe assumption. For each of our future races, we'll figure that out what the pit delta is.
We're a bit underprepared.
I think we're doing fine.
I mean, Ryan's wearing a T-shirt. But key corners, Brad, we know you really can't add anything to this discussion because you're just going to say practice. But Ryan, do we have any key corners or key sectors here? I mean, before you go, the last chicane, 14 and 15, is definitely a spot where you want to be on point. Those curbs there, if you skip them wrong, I mean, this game is definitely allowing you a lot of room to skip the curbs there. You can basically drive the car nearly all 4 wheels off and be completely fine with that corner.
Well,
but if you hit the curbs wrong, you're off into the grass or into the tire barrier.
Yep, or it could spin you totally around if one tire hits it and the other doesn't. I think that go ahead. What do you want to say?
I'm going to do a list of key corners here.
Okay.
All of them?
And you guys should critique. No, all of them. Ready?
All right, go for it.
Number 1, first corner, if you hit that wrong, that'll slow you down all the way to 4.
Yes.
3,
that's basically.
Well, if you take that,
I don't know that you can really mess up 3 because you can
You could floor it and just go all the way through the corner.
Even if you need to be wide.
Even if you take the wide line, you don't lose that much time. You're basically in the same exact spot.
So I think you're right on number 1.
3 is pretty. It's key. You gotta be pretty steady with your.
But if you want your first sector to be good, you basically got to get the first 2 corners done.
And
you got to make sure those are
that,
fast.
7. That's a very key corner because then that sets up the entry to 9. 8
5. I would say 5 and 7.
You can enter 5 really wide.
You can break in these cars. I've realized you can break so late.
But you can lose it if you take 5 wrong and you don't get good traction coming out of it. It will be the difference of half a second. Mm-hmm. So to me that's a big one. You can lose a second in turn 7 though, a full second.
Going up about 9, I said. Little important corner. You can.
I think it's more
I've tried going flat.
It's flat
with the full on setups that everybody else is running. You can run it flat
in my setup. Yeah.
When we first started testing, people weren't doing it flat.
I wasn't.
I can't do it.
And I think
that's what I'm running.
And I think it's just the need to go faster.
Half second there.
I think it's just the need to go faster. Kind of people are like, all right, I'm going to try and go flat now. Maybe I can gain time there. And it turns out you can basically take the corner any line you want flat. Now, if you enter really wide and you hit that rumble strip, you can basically take it flat all the way through and clip the apex. But
you got to be careful not to hit the inside rumble strip though,
because it kicks you out.
It will pop the tires up, and then you lose traction, and you'll just be sailing off into the exit or off into that runoff.
Or the middle of the track,
or whatever.
Right, the national.
The big loop.
Yeah, exactly.
And I found during I was in the one actual online practice session. It wasn't an official one, but I found that if you do go off there,
doesn't dirty it.
Nope. Doesn't dirty it. You could go full throttle through it.
No, through the national.
The national.
If you go through there, you don't even lose a whole lot of time either.
Huh. Just be careful because
you got to make sure when you're entering back on.
Right. That's technically still off track.
I know, but I'm saying if you do go off there, you don't lose a whole lot of time from what I've seen. You'll lose if there's somebody behind you. You'll obviously lose that position. But like where is him? Adam Boros, my friend, was right behind me out of that corner. I fudged the corner up, and I was probably only a couple hundred feet behind him when we came out of the corner after I came out of that national section. So I was still, and that's something you can make up in braking. So.
Lose a couple of tenths, but not a big.
It's not
But basically, you just gotta
You
make
gotta
sure.
hit it, obviously. You can't be.
Also,
gotta
that you
be
don't
careful.
hit another driver coming back on course. You definitely need to have a
You need
look
to yield
and
when
be
you come back
aware
on, yeah.
and be aware when people are there.
So continue with
I think 12 is pretty important.
12 is very important actually.
So
Where you get on the power and how you can take it a couple of different lines, but you have to change how you shift gears and where you get on the throttle.
Sometimes you can take it in third, sometimes you can take it in second, depending on my
take
gear
it
setup.
in third.
Yeah, mine's third, but if I go deep into the corner, you can still take it almost as fast. You just have to rotate the car quickly at the end and get on the power sooner than if you come in what I would say is the optimal line is you sort of swing left before you go into 12, and then you're sort of in the middle of third gear before you get back on towards the exit.
And then after that, I'd have to say 14, 15, we already touched on that. And then 16, that obviously is
16,
important. It sets up
16.
your whole running down the straight.
Yes, but 16 really depends on how well you exit 15.
16's flat. 16's
I
almost
know,
not
I'm
a
not
corner
saying
to
it's
me.
an
But
important,
basically,
you
it
gotta
depends
do
on
it
if you
right
come
to
out
set
of
up the whole
15.
straight.
If you come out of
Yes.
15 wrong, it can mess up 16.
Oh yeah.
You got to make sure you come out of 15 at the right angle just so you can get on the
If the
throttle
curb
properly.
pops the back end, you're screwed for the whole next lap.
Yeah. So, that's my list of corners. You get
You basically listed all but
You did walk around the entire track. You were like, you don't have to worry about 6.
yeah.
4 is one that we didn't talk about, and I think you can gain a couple of tenths there.
it's
There's
all on
a
exit, though. It's all on exit.
some of it is actually entry.
You could brake really late into it.
Yeah,
There's
it
so
was
much. There's so
deceiving.
much track there
It
that you
was
could brake really
deceiving
late.
for me how to take turn 4, and what I ended up finding is that most people were they were straddling the left rumble strip, and then they were
Cutting back across.
and then they would downshift several times, cut back in, and then it's getting that throttle point right, and then hugging tight. But it's not so critical as say 5 or 7. 7, I've lost so much time at turn 7.
So
It is
have I.
unreal because the window for entry
Is
it-
tiny.
Yeah, right. The exit, it kind of opens up, so you can kind of take it however you want. As soon as you see that you're lining up to hit the apex correctly, you can get on the throttle pretty early. But your entry window is so narrow there.
Basically, what I found there though is if you come through 6 properly, the downhill portion, if you clip the apex of 6 and just basically go straight onto the rumble strip on 7, you can basically just get the car to rotate real quick and you'll hit the apex properly. It just kind of depends on how you enter right.
I've had issues with 7 all week.
I've always had issues
can't
with
figure
7.
it out.
Catalunya's never been a good track for me.
That's what I'm having issues with. That's my best track is Catalunya.
And see, I love Catalunya. I really
hate it.
like it.
That's
I don't like it.
I don't necessarily like it or hate it, but it's my best track, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I'm having such big issues there.
You just got to get seat time in. I mean,
The car is so twitchy. You just got to learn to adapt to how the car drives.
what impresses me is that guys like TLR Eclipse were setting competitive times. I mean, they were sort of mid-pack, but he was setting competitive times with traction control off. You know, it was baffling
do it
to
with
me.
off. It's
But
not possible.
there is a definite benefit to running with traction control on, and the problem is we can't. I don't know that we could really, with how much other stuff we're asking of the drivers, I don't know that we could really dictate everybody run traction off. It would be, the races would be frustrating, you know what I
There'll be a
mean?
lot of incidents.
So I think we kind of had to go that route, unfortunately. But, you know, I could see maybe a short championship or maybe a couple of one-offs where it's traction off, you know, or maybe old F1 cars like the Brabham or something like that. I think that would be kind of cool.
That basically just ends the podcast, doesn't it? That's all we got. I mean, do you have anything else you want to discuss real quick before we end it?
You know, I don't think so. I'm just really looking forward to seeing how this season shapes up. I hope that our power restriction rules are adequate to deal with the
And time will tell.
the gap that's
Time will
there.
tell.
Yeah. And one thing that helps is because In Flames is on my team, if I see that it's starting to get a little bit too ridiculous, like the power restrictions aren't doing enough,
Yeah.
I don't feel so bad because he's on my team if I impose more power restriction. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you
It's all a
win
setup. Ryan
consecutively.
basically just set it up so he can win the championship. Ryan's like, I won it on my return. What do you guys got?
Right. Well, this should be interesting because if we'll be definitely shooting for the team championship. Scuderia Ferrari or Ferrari branded teams have never won the championship.
You know who's never won a team championship?
Jet?
Sport.
Really?
Never won a team championship.
Don't even talk to me about really. You know full
And
well
actually, we
that it's
never-
really we haven't.
Yeah, we won a drivers' championship in Super GT, and then we got totally screwed and lost the team championship.
Not even by a point, over the penalties.
Yeah, it was tied.
Oh,
and
which
we
is,
lost
I
because
guess
of
that's
penalties.
the very last thing we can go out on. There's no penalties this season. No penalty points.
I like how you change it as soon as we get screwed over by it, Ryan. That's,
Right? You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. But we
had
go
to
to
wait till we got screwed over.
that might have been an issue though. Last race of the season, that big of an incident. It might have been.
It was a tipping point. It was like,
Yeah.
all right, we should probably change it.
Yeah.
Or we should revamp it a little bit.
So yeah, how it works now is drivers have like a license, and they get marks on their license for incidents that are deemed their fault, or we can't determine whose fault it was. My thought is that if you're involved in an incident, use the Xbox record that feature to go back and get those 30 seconds of what happened. Because other than that, we can't validate what you say. You know what I mean? Because the replays might not make it that long. Who knows?
That's good,
So
actually. Then we were, like
the
you
game
said,
clips will highlight it anyway. We'll
So-
see what was going on in the driver's perspective. So, I can't wait for the season to start. Good thing it's only a couple of days away.
Yeah.
What about
I'm
you guys?
excited.
You got any other?
I'm excited. I can't make the first race, which is a little disappointing, but I'm excited for it regardless.
Right, Derek? Any?
You're my teammate and you're
I
letting
know,
me
I'm
down
s-
like that.
I know. At least I'm letting you down in the first race, not the last race. 'Cause I can. At
There's
least
a
we
lot
can
of
ma-
face twitching
At
going
least we
on.
can make it up.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to round out this podcast?
Well, now that we're rounding out an audio,
Are we
not
not?
video,
What's gonna happen with that?
it'll fade into a picture of you or us just sitting there like.
Right. All right. So anyway,
But basically, it's going to be a long season. You'll hear from us periodically every week and a half. I mean, we'll try and do it between races, like the week off. But we're definitely going to be here. You'll get to see our ugly mugs a lot more,
right.
unfortunately.
Ryan wearing something other than a t-shirt.
You know what? You guys are gonna get totally blown away next
No,
time.
I'm wearing a suit next
Come in
time.
3-piece suit, and you guys be like, "What the hell?"
I'm going to be
Suit.
wearing
You wearing a suit?
cut-off jean shorts and a tank top.
Okay. All right. So I guess thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you, I guess, in about a week.
Hopefully about a week.
Yep.
If it turns
After,
out well.
if the race turns out well and this championship doesn't implode.
After one race, that doesn't
Right.
make it a race.
Right. All right, guys. Thanks.
Goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.
Meow.